Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
It's here. It's time. There's always a buzz in the air when you hit this moment.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
I think of him as this hawk. Before long, he's going to be swooping in on those quarterbacks.
And they embody what the school is about. It's about getting into hard situations and getting ourselves out. It's about working hard. It's about doing amazing things.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Good morning, Ags, and welcome into a Friday edition of TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, hosted by the TexGals. Once again, I'm Callie Garner, that is Kay Naegeli, and we have the brunette TexGal over in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center today. So not three blondes, but close enough. It's still a K name, C name. We've got Kayla over there. Yep. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Normally, we would be in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone, but we're just the regular folks at the big desk today. I'm not going to steal Nick's joke and just call us the regular folks. If you have thoughts, comments, questions, put Kayla to work over there. Text the show on the Catalyst Pure Performance text line. We have a packed show today.
We do.
We've got a lot of exciting guests joining us on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending hotline, and we're really looking forward to talking to some exciting people who I know we've both looked up to for a long time in both of our careers.
Yeah, for sure. These are. If you looked at the rundown today, we have Laura Rutledge at 9 o'clock and then Paul Finebaum at 9:35, who in different ways have both been influential to us. And it's kind of really full circle that this is who we're getting to talk to. Just, this industry is awesome, and there's a lot of cool people that want to help you and put you on the map, and those two are definitely ones to do so.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Whenever we reached out to them, I thought it was kind of a long shot, and thinking maybe we'll hear back from one of them, Alyssa Lang, too, yesterday, and we ended up getting all three, and so we're pumped to be able to chat with them. Behind the glass, we've got our best friend and big brother, Nick Savage. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, y'all.
How is your morning going?
It's going great. I was going to say, I'll kind of bury the lead there. I thought you were just going to pull a David and not say who was coming on the show, but thank you. It was good polls, and some might say this is a loaded show because you got Billy Liucci to cap it all off as well.
I didn't even mention.
Yeah, and Billy, of course, a full hour of Billy. How could we?
Maybe more.
Right. Yeah.
You're welcome. I just saved your jobs.
Nick, anything on your mind this morning?
Not really, because we were kind of talking about it after the show yesterday, right, Kay? It's like we are in the doldrums of summer right now. I mean, the most pressing thing going on is the World Cup, and that's not my area of expertise, so I'm not even going to try to talk about that. But just, I guess, can we say we're excited for Media Days? Because we need something to talk about, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually excited for Media Days.
I am too, in Tampa.
Yeah.
I think we're going early Sunday to maybe get some time on the beach.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll
I
see.
know it's like one of those things you always go into with excitement and ambition and all the things, and then you leave Thursday night and you're like, oh my gosh, if I hear another phrase about football, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah. And it's funny because I feel like we do so much ramping off during the off season whenever we have this longer extended time. And it's just like, okay, I've heard everything I possibly could know about every SEC
It's like, what do you want to know?
Yeah. Or we could just talk to anyone that did show prep for us or SEC Media Days prep for us and talk to them about their school. I know Kayla Gaither was fully consumed in Texas and LSU.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I know everything I need to know about both Texas and LSU. I spent hours upon hours of researching, looking at YouTube videos, looking at articles. So I'm pretty knowledgeable about both those two teams. So you can ask me any question and I'll probably know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Arch Manning?
Oh, man. Well, everybody on social media, articles, YouTube, they're all high on him this year, way higher than last year, surprisingly, because he was very hyped up last year, but we'll see if it prevails this year for him.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Speaking of players, we were made aware of the ESPY nominations yesterday. And to say there were some surprises on there, I think is a little bit of an understatement, just because obviously we have our maybe biased opinions on who should be where. But I think just overall comparing some of the people in the categories of the nominations that they released, I was like, I don't really understand how these people are even in the same category, but
yeah,
that's not that important to me. But we'll start with our very own Aggie volleyball player, Kendall Stowers, who is nominated for Comeback Player of the Year. And I mean, I just don't understand how you can give that award to anyone else other than her.
Yeah, for those that don't exactly know her story, she was forced into medical retirement at Baylor. She had several concussions, I think 3 or 4 was the number. And the coaches basically came up to her and told her, hey, we don't need you to play volleyball here anymore. It was not her decision. She was forced to do so, and it went beyond her. And then, of course, she took a year off from volleyball and then got in the transfer portal, kind of sought out her options, and Texas A&M stood out in all the things that she could offer. She does wear the Q collar. You will see her wear that. Any game that she plays, she does not go without it as a safety precaution to make sure her brain can be steady, quote unquote. It just helps with some of the ricochet and impact and things like that. But Kendall Stowers is also a TexAgs intern now. So
yes, she is.
She's a great, great person if you meet her. She's so welcoming and kind, and also an incredible volleyball player who led Texas A&M to a national title and was named Most Outstanding Player. So what an amazing season she just had. And I couldn't think of anyone more perfect for Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, it's one of those stories that you hear and you're like, I think I'm tough. And then I hear that and I'm like, oh, okay, that is tough. That is great. That is the definition of what Jamie Morrison wants his program to be.
For sure.
And like I said, I don't know how you could give that award to anyone else.
Yeah, the other nominees are Anthony Kim, Savvy King, and Christian McCaffrey. Don't know too much about Kim and King. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, playing with the 49ers, returning from injury, is also, is very good comeback story as well. But I really think that she just spearheaded that run, being forced into something that it wasn't necessarily an injury that she had control of.
Yeah.
Not that any injury you have control of, but it was being forced into medical retirement is very uncomfortable and awkward. And she thought she was done with volleyball for good. And to see her overcome all of that is just such a cool story. And I know that Texas A&M's SID, Sam Thornton, shout out, sent this story to ESPN and kind of put it on the map a little bit and be like, hey, here, you need to know this. This is really cool. And it's so cool to see her having a nomination.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something too is she's so young and she has already achieved all of these awesome things. And now here she is not only nominated for an ESPY, but in the same category as someone like Christian McCaffrey. And it's like, I don't think I'll ever be that cool.
Yeah, we're speaking on them in the same breath. Yeah. She actually, working here, she did tell me that she was going to go to the ESPYs. I was talking to her about days that she needed off and things like that from Social Center. She's like, well, I may be going to the ESPYs in July. I'm like, oh, that's the coolest thing anyone's ever told me before.
We can give you off for that.
Yeah, I think we'll give you the day off. But yeah, could not be more happy for a player and a person and a program.
Yeah, absolutely. Another category that we had a former Aggie nominated for is Best NFL Player and Best Record-Breaking Performance. Again, maybe have some bias there, at least on the record-breaking performance side. Mm-hmm. I think he's the clear runaway.
Yeah, Myles Garrett, he broke a NFL single-season sack record with 23 sacks in 2025. I remember during the regular season, all of us just kind of when it got towards the end, we were like, oh, is he going to do it today? Is he going to do it today? Obviously he's a legend here and he's going to be inducted in the Texas A&M Hall of Fame as well. So we want to get Billy's thoughts on that as well later, just because that's such a cool accomplishment. But he's also nominated for Best NFL Player, and he would be the first defensive player to win that award at the ESPYs if he does. And I think he's going to be, I could see him as the favorite. He was also named #1 on CBS Sports top NFL players heading into the 2026 season. He was at the top, so he has an impact more than anyone, and he's going to hopefully shine in LA this upcoming fall.
It's interesting when you talk to people who aren't from Texas, didn't go to A&M, didn't grow up in the Aggie sports world who know exactly who people like Myles Garrett and Von Miller are. And I think I forget just how big their impact is in the NFL because you look at other players who went to other schools and you're like, yeah, of course I know them. But it's weird when it's happening to people from your school who you grew up watching play for the Maroon and White and not a national football team.
Yeah.
And so I talk to people who are not from Texas and they know exactly who these people are and they watch them every Sunday. And it's really cool to see people from your school representing on the national level like that.
For sure. Yeah, I think Myles is a great representation of Texas A&M and the university, and he makes sure to come back, right? Yeah. Him and Vaughn, I feel like, are always here, and they're always supporting Texas A&M and Mike Elko and going on podcasts and doing different things like that. So great representations of Texas A&M, and obviously hope Myles Garrett and both Kendall Stowers come home with an award from the ESPYs.
For sure. Some people someone that I was talking about the other day that I think will have a same or similar track record to people like that is KC.
Yeah.
He's going to leave A&M and go be incredibly successful in the NFL. And I think he has such high respect for A&M and what he was able to do in his 1 year here and what A&M was able to give him in his 1 year here, that he's going to come back and, support A&M and be a great representation and a voice for A&M on the national stage as well.
Yeah, and shout out KC. He just got engaged as well to
an Aggie.
To an Aggie, Lamaya Hilton. She played women's basketball here this past season, and she's awesome. Yeah. I got the privilege of interviewing her and sitting down with her, and one of the more appreciative people that we've had in here. And she was just so happy to be here. She was so happy with her decision to transfer from Miami. Met KC, obviously started dating, and from there, it just sparked. And I'm like, I love an Aggie love story. I love that that's why y'all are together now. It's because Texas A&M and the connections that are here. But I could not be more happy for them. She is amazing, and obviously we know KC is just an awesome human being as well. So.
Yeah, and I mean, based on the two of their athletic abilities, you're going to have some A&M coaches fighting over those children from day one.
I saw everyone on the boards was like, get them NIL deals now. Like, they cannot go to any other school. It has to be Texas A&M. So the class of 20, whatever that is.
Way too far away.
Yeah.
It's going to make me feel old when we say it. So we're
the
just
name Concepcion is attached. We got to pursue them.
For sure. We'll go on to another category that has a little bit more nominees than some of the other ones. And that category is best team. And I want to get your thoughts, Kay, overall on kind of where this award could go, because there are so many different teams in this category.
Yeah, so best team, I'll just read off a handful of them, or all of them. The Las Vegas Aces, the WNBA, Los Angeles Dodgers, MLB, Richard, talking to you. Indiana Hoosiers, obviously NCAA football, Carolina Hurricanes, NHL, New York Knicks, NBA, that was a great story. Texas Longhorns, softball, Seattle Seahawks, NFL, Team USA men's hockey, Team USA women's hockey. So there's a lot of, obviously, a lot of winners in this category. I think all winners in this category. The few that stand out to me, sorry, Richard, I didn't watch the Dodgers this season. I just don't know enough there to comment on it, and I'm sure he's going to be like, they're the best team by far. Indiana was such an awesome story to watch, how they have not won in so long with Curt Cignetti and Fernando Mendoza leading the way. The New York Knicks was also a huge story. They had not won in a long, long time, and I think all of New York enjoyed seeing them bring back a title.
I know they enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Based on the videos that everyone saw. Team USA men's hockey, Team USA women's hockey. I mean, those were also incredible, incredible stories. And I think the one that does stand out a little bit on here is the Texas Longhorns, the softball program. Obviously, they won back-to-back, right? They took down big, bad Texas Tech in doing so, who has all the money in the world to spend. But it's a little bit interesting, in my opinion, when you group all these different teams. It's like, okay, you put a softball team on here, then, like where...
Yeah. Then we're going to Olympic teams, and then we're going to teams that won NBA finals.
And Mike White, it was his 7th and 8th season, I think, whenever they won the title. So this past year, or last year and this past year. And I'm not trying to dock them in any way, shape, or form. They're a great team. They handled business against A&M each year.
Yeah.
I just think I think this category will go in a different direction.
Yeah, I think for them in that situation, it was more the honor was to be nominated.
Yeah.
The honor is not to win the category solely because you look at who they're up against. And I think that I could name probably 5 or 6 teams that should win this award.
Yeah.
And not that, I mean, we're big pro softball people over here. We love the sport. We think it's going to continue to do amazing things at the NCAA level.
Yeah.
I just think out of all of those, I could probably pick a bunch that have a better story than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the storylines within the story is like about Indiana and the Knicks is the cooler thing to me. I think that's when we think about these runs, that's what we go back to is that Indiana had not won in forever, and Curt Cignetti was able to bring this to a fan base who had not won in so long. And fortunately for Longhorn fans, y'all are used to winning. I'll give you that. But not to dock that they won the title or anything like that or went to back-to-back. I just think either my pick would be the Hoosiers or the Knicks.
Yeah, I think I would go with Indiana solely because of the story, and I don't want to speak on their NIL budget because I really don't know how much they paid for their football team last year. But you look at where the NCAA football group is at right now and where NCAA softball is at, and the parity levels are very, very different. Yeah. You're seeing the same teams almost at the World Series in OKC every year or every other year. And you look at football, and yes, you've got the Ohio States, you've got the Texas Longhorns, teams that have been around for a long time, but then you just see Indiana pop up out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, that is neat in and of itself. And then you look at the stories, and you're like, those are people who I want to root for and who I want to succeed.
Absolutely. Callie Gaither, what would be your nomination for this category?
So I kind of have a little bit of a bias because I watch a lot of hockey, and I watched the Winter Olympics this year, and just seeing the men's and women's hockey team win gold, I mean, it was just something special to watch. The last time the men's team won gold was in 1980. So it was just, to me, I feel like that would be the team that I would vote for just because it has been so long. It meant so much to USA. It was such a big deal, but also I'm on the same wavelength as you guys. I feel like Indiana is such a special team as well. Their storylines were taking over the headlines when they won, and just Curt Cignetti, being all over the internet, and it was just so special to watch. But I will say I might have to go with the men's hockey team winning Olympic gold this year.
Nice. Good take.
I like that. Yeah. I thought you were gonna take your bias in the direction of the San Antonio Spurs and say, despite the loss, they still should win.
I could have gone that way. I definitely could have gone that way, but I will save, my San Antonio blood for another day. Maybe when we actually win the finals, I will say that. But I will say I don't want to see the Knicks winning.
Yeah.
Best team. I would love to see hockey rather than the Knicks, for sure.
Yeah. I could agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, well, we will hit a break, and we'll come back on the other side with some discussion of the Directors' Cup. They announced the final standings in that, and we'll get into some of that and a few other sports topics on the other side. Don't go anywhere. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers.
Hey everyone, David Nuno here of TexAgs Live. I want to introduce you to the team at Holistic Planning. Got Jason Barber here, Taylor Pankratz, and also Paul Meredith. Jason, I want to start off with you. What really sets Holistic Planning apart from the others?
Yeah, so what makes us different is most financial advisors stop at investment management. On the other hand, Holistic Planning, we manage investments, taxes, and estate planning all on one team, all underneath one roof.
Now, Taylor, when everything is coordinated like that, it really helps the bottom line, doesn't it?
It really does. When your investments and taxes are working together, you stop leaving money on the table and keep more of what's yours.
Paul, Holistic Planning is trying to expand as well.
That's true. We just opened our Houston office, and we're looking for people who feel like their advisor isn't seeing the full picture, because that's exactly what we fix.
And Jason, there's other opportunities beyond that.
Definitely. If you're a financial advisor and you want to join the Holistic Planning team, we're looking to add 50 teams in the next 5 to 10 years. So check out holisticplanning.com/advisors.
All right, so if you want a team that actually coordinates everything, go to holisticplanning.com. Aggies, this one is worth it.
We are back. Welcome into TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers. This is the Go Hour with Kay Naegeli, Callie Garner sitting in the host chairs, and we are going to bring up a little bit of a different topic. Texas A&M finishes number 12 in the Directors' Cup branding.
Always. I feel like recently
always 12.
We've landed at 12 in quite a few things, and we're like branding.
Yeah,
I think it started with Braden Montgomery's draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just from there, I feel like there's been a few things that's like,
of course,
we're
of course. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where we land in the first football AP poll drops. I could see
take
this
it.
right around there. Maybe even higher. We'll see.
Take that
But yeah, like I said, number 12 in the Directors' Cup. That is the highest finish since 2023, 2024, when Texas A&M finished 6th. So we're just kind of run through this athletic calendar and talk about some of the things that were accomplished. The Aggies earned 980 points, finishing 4th with among SEC schools. They locked in their 14th top 15 ranking and third straight dating back to the 2023-2024 campaign. The Directors' Cup assigns a point value to each team based off of a postseason finish, with 100 points being awarded to the team's, the sport's respective national champion. Obviously, Texas A&M volleyball and women's tennis both secured those 100 points. Continuing on, some of the other teams that did add to that, track and field and football garnered 73.5 points and 70.5 points, respectively. The men's indoor track and field team placed 6th in the country, while football hosted a playoff game for the first time in history. So, your overall thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Directors' Cup placing in the top 15 in general is objectively elite.
Yeah.
And it means you are having success across your athletic program and not just in one or two sports. And I think for A&M specifically, it's interesting to see us at 12. And then you mentioned in 2023-24 when we were all the way up at 6, when there's a lot of sports that are factored into this award that A&M doesn't even have, like rowing, men's and women's lacrosse. I know there's other sports that are factored in.
Gymnastics, yeah.
And so I know, like beach volleyball, we don't have, and I know that's taken into account.
Yep.
So I think it's really neat to see A&M up there with some of those schools that have sports in all categories or most categories that are taken into account for this.
Yeah.
I was looking back at 2023-24, and I was kind of like, I think right before the break, we were like, how did we finish so high in that year?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously baseball was the big contributor that year, finishing 2nd nationally. Women's golf was 5th. Men's golf was 20th, but they gave us a lot of points for that. Softball was 9th. Women's tennis was 1st. Men's tennis was 9th. Track and field was 5th. So I think looking at those numbers, when you know how many programs there are in competing in each of these sports, it's really cool to see A&M up towards the top with everything, not just football, not just volleyball. So
yeah, and I think the big three we obviously talk about had respective finishes in each of their categories. I think if we would have told you that before the season, you'd been like, okay, that makes sense with each of their finishes.
Yeah.
A&M also sent 17 of its 19 programs to postseason this year. Yeah. I think obviously you want that number to be 100%, but you're always striving for that. But 17 out of 19 ain't bad. And I think you kind of see from Trev Alvarez getting on campus to finishing number 15 last year and then number 12 now, this ascent of, you're trying to pursue greatness. You're trying to pursue that across the board in all athletics categories. And I think it's really cool that obviously volleyball and women's tennis bringing home the national championships, but men's indoor track and field continues to get you points. Football is also now a steady contributor, when in the Jimbo Fisher era, most of the time you couldn't say that. So really cool to see success across the board.
Yeah, it's also neat to look at the schools that are above A&M this year and back when they were number 6 in the country. And there's 3 schools from the SEC this year placed above us. And then in 2023-24, there were 2 schools, but Texas was one of those, and that was their last year in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you could factor them in if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But that's who A&M is competing against in a lot of these on the daily. And then they go to the national level. But you see all these SEC schools still up there, and it's neat to know that that's who they're competing with to get to this place. They're not competing against, some of the bottom level schools. They're competing against people who are also just as talented as they are.
Yeah. I'm going to flip it over to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center so we can get some maybe texts, maybe some stories from Miss Callie Gaither.
Let's see over here. Well, I was going to bring up earlier that, let me find it in my notes really fast. But track and field also, we talked about it a little bit. They keep adding points for the Aggies. They're consistently good every year. One of our very own, Zaza Namdi, was named as a finalist for the Bowerman Award. He was one of 10 men named in the semifinalist group, one of the only field athletes named in the selection, and he's the 9th Aggie on the men's team to be named a semifinalist and the first since 2017. So with Pat Henry retiring this year, he retires with another just, name in the record books. Like Zaza, I believe he won the national title for the javelin this year, which was incredible. And just seeing how far Aggie track has gone with Pat Henry, with Namdi, and it's been a really great year for track and field, and just a really, good way to close out Pat Henry's career here at A&M.
Yeah. So let me ask this: How does that program keep up with what he's done all these years? I mean, he's the GOAT.
He is the GOAT, and I had the privilege of going in person to his retirement press conference and just seeing his emotion and talking about his pride for the program and where he's leaving it is something that is so unique in a head coach. And he has been here for so long and he has won so much here. And I just think it's really, really awesome to see how proud he is, not only of the win and the success, but also the people that he has sent on to go be even more successful than they were here. And I know he thinks of them as humans and not athletes, and he remembers all of them by name, and he talked about all of his former athletes. I don't know where you go after Pat Henry.
Yeah.
I know he was talking about how he's going to have a hand in deciding that or helping pick that, but those are some big shoes to fill.
I know.
I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, it's almost like, of course, you search far and wide for who wants this job, and I'm sure it is a very, very coveted job around the country. But it's like, man, you literally have to follow in the footsteps of someone. It's kind of like the Nick Saban, Kalen DeBoer situation a little bit, where it's such big shoes to fill, and obviously Alabama football probably has a lot higher expectations and eyes on that program, but even just within the Texas A&M ranks, it's like, okay, there is someone here that won so much. How do I make sure there is no drop-off?
Yeah.
It's going to be a challenge for sure.
Yeah, and I think for Aggies, it was easy to look over in that department and just know that there was stability there.
Yeah.
And I think track and field was never something we had to worry about having a down year. They might not have won it every year, but I don't think there was ever a year that we were like, oh, they're not going to be good this year.
Yeah.
Like, they were consistently good, and that started at the top with Pat Henry. And he had a quote in his press conference, and he was talking about the job itself, the position, and he said, there are not many people that would say no to A&M, but there's not many people we should ask to say yes. And I think that really stuck out to me, and he understands how special this place is and what it should be. And it was really neat to hear him just kind of acknowledge that.
Yeah. He also advocates for track and field more than a lot of people do.
Yeah.
He is very passionate about his sport, and he's always like, please just come to a meet. Like, see what this is about. See our athletes and how well prepared they are, how trained they are. Like, just come see this product, because I guarantee you will enjoy it. And we always would have him on our show, and he was always, I know David loves having him, and couldn't think of another great representative of Texas A&M, and we're going to miss him around here.
For sure. And something that's cool too when you look at that is, I think that's something that's steady across the board with all athletics at A&M. You look at Trisha, and she is so proud of her sport, and she is the biggest advocate for softball across the board. And you look at Jamie Morrison, and he is the biggest advocate for volleyball. Like, he is so passionate about what that sport can be at the NCAA level and beyond. And it's just really neat to see people who are in roles like that, who have such pride and care so much about having success.
Yeah. And Texas A&M.
Yeah. And the school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just success, but success for the school that they love and that they coach at.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to hit a quick break. On the other side, we'll have an interview with 2028 volleyball commit Maija Mortensen. She committed last week whenever that window opened, so we're looking forward to chatting with her. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers.
Hey everybody, David Nuno here, TexAgs Live, here with Sheldon and Danny Shelley of Aggieland Hydration. Sheldon, I want to start off with you. What is Aggieland Hydration and who do you serve?
So we're a mobile IV company. We serve the Bryan College Station area, and we are licensed under our medical director to work anywhere in the state of Texas, but given the name, we're focused on the Bryan College Station area.
Danny, how do appointments work?
So when a client calls in, they can call into our main line or we have an online booking process. We get a quick little bit of information, name, date of birth, the address of where we're going to go, kind of what's going on. We give that information over to our nurse, and usually they can arrive within 30 minutes to an hour.
Danny, who's this geared towards? Is it more for like sick people, athletes, people who've been partying? Who is this for?
All the above.
Okay.
And it just really depends on what you're getting after. Sheldon travels a lot, so I give him an IV once a week. Some people get it just as needed, like when they're sick or if they've been working, in the yard all weekend, if they just had a big workout, stuff like that.
And all right, Sheldon, help me out. Why do I not just drink a bunch of water or juice? Like, why go the IV route?
Yeah, so drinking water orally, you don't absorb it all. So getting a liter of fluids into your bloodstream directly, you feel the results better. And it's equivalent to drinking about almost 2.5 gallons of water.
All right, that's Aggieland Hydration. How do people check you out?
They can go to our website at aggielandhydrationandinjectables.com.
Or you can call them up at 979-217-1561. It is Aggieland Hydration.
Howdy, Aggs, and welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers. We have a very special guest joining us on the Buffy's Catering and Bartending Hotline, the first 2028 commit of the class of Texas A&M volleyball, Maija Mortensen, joining us. Maija, thanks for hopping on this morning.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Of course. So first and foremost, the most important question, why did you ultimately pick Texas A&M?
Definitely. I'm super impressed by the coaches. Coaches are definitely like the main reason I picked A&M. And even at the camp, the short time I was there, super impressed with like their coaching style. I think it fit me very well, and I just had a lot of fun. I also was really impressed with the campus, love campus and everything. And I have a lot of family that lives in Texas, and just a lot of people that know about A&M. And every time I talk to them about A&M, all they have to say is good things about Jamie and A&M. So I'm just really excited to go there.
Yeah, you were on campus. It would have been 2 weeks ago, roughly now.
Yeah.
Was that your first time being on campus?
No, I came to a spring game in March, I think. And so we had a little tour of campus, but it was just with like a person that goes there. So
Okay, and just tell me about that camp, what it was like to be around some elite hitters that are ultimately, a few of them are going to end up being your teammates.
it is so fun. I'm super competitive, so I love playing at a high level. And just playing with these amazing athletes just up my game and make me compete better as a athlete and as a person. So I'm just super excited to play with those amazing athletes that were at the camp.
You talk about Jamie Morrison and the staff being a huge reason that you ultimately ended up choosing A&M. What specifically about them drew you to A&M and then led you to commit to play in their program?
Yes, for sure. I think definitely just their coaching style just definitely fits with me personally. And they like, even at the coach, I just got, so like I did the little things to get better at the camp and just fix the things that I need to fix. And I trust Jamie and all his coaches to get me to where I ultimately like want to continue playing on the national team and hopefully eventually playing in the Olympics. So I trust them to develop me as a player and get me to those goals.
Yeah, that's super awesome. What was it like for you? Was A&M on your radar back in the fall and watching the national championship run that this team had kind of from afar and having hopes and dreams of playing at the college level and seeing a school that you desire to play at take home that trophy?
A&M, definitely. I didn't really know a lot about A&M until that tournament, until they won the national championship. So they weren't really on my radar until after that. Then I started to get to know about them, and then Jamie started coming to my games, and then we just started to get to know Jamie just a little bit better. And it was just super fun just getting to know them and like all the players, just seeing how like they've improved and how they like all work together to get that national championship.
Yeah, I know we got to take it in from Kansas City, and that was super exciting for us. And we were like, okay, volleyball is here to stay. It's on the map at Texas A&M. But I want to specifically talk about your high school and club career. In high school at Corner Canyon, you won a state title last year, so you know exactly what it's like to win. Just tell me a little bit about that.
It definitely was super fun. We got a transfer this year that was the best sitter in the state, so that helped us a lot. And then we had a lot of seniors that helped us. We have one going to Baylor that is there that just went there right now. So we had a lot of good athletes that helped chip into the state championship, but definitely just like we were really good, I think, about just working as a team and being like one instead of individuals. And so I think that's definitely what helped us get that state championship.
Yeah. You were the first to commit, and then Maija Obog followed, as well as Amari Frazier. I know you got to hang out with them a little bit at that camp, but just how excited are you to play alongside those girls?
I am so excited. Like right after we all committed, we all like called each other and we were just so excited and so happy. But we played with each other on the USA team, and they're one of like my closest friends on that team. And so as soon as I found out, I was so I was bouncing off the walls. I was so happy.
Talk about those three players and kind of what do you see as the future of A&M volleyball with the three of y'all, and then also players that are before and that will come after you?
Yes, definitely. I think A&M volleyball definitely has a good future. Whenever we come in, I'm super excited. I think we're going to have a really high-level team and be able to win lots of games and hopefully win another national championship is what we're all aiming for. So I'm just super excited. I think that's definitely capable with the talent that we have that's already there and are coming in.
Yeah, and lastly, Maija, before we let you go, just if you had to describe yourself as a player to the A&M fan base, what kind of player are the Aggies getting in Maija Mortensen?
Definitely a competitor. I would say that's like my biggest attribute is I love to win. I hate losing. I always need to win. And I just do whatever it takes to win those games.
Yeah. Well, Maija, we appreciate you hopping on with us, and we can't wait to see you in maroon and white.
Thank you.
Of course, that is Maija Mortensen on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Enjoy what Jamie Morrison and company are doing right now. It's been awesome to watch with this 28 class.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and just getting to talk to some of them and seeing their personalities and knowing that they're the future of our program is really, really exciting.
Yeah, well, we'll drop it right there. We will come back for another segment of TexAgs Live presented by David Garner Jewelers. Welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers. It's the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Have to pay the bills, of course, and we're going to do one final segment of the Go Hour with my host, Callie Garner. And we're also going to kick it over to Kayla Gaither. She has some news in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
Yes, so this tweet put out by VB Adrenaline ranked early class of 2028 recruiting rankings. So I'm going to read out the recruiting rankings, and I'm going to see y'all's reaction. So at number 1, Nebraska. At number 2, Texas. Number 3 is Texas A&M. Number 4 is Pittsburgh. number 5, Penn State, number 6, SMU, 7 is Louisville, 8, Minnesota, 9, Indiana, and 10, USC. So my question to you guys, what are y'all's reactions? The top 3 the top 3 rankings here in Nebraska, Texas, Texas A&M, obviously powerhouses. So what are y'all's reactions to these early 2028 rankings?
Yeah, I think with Nebraska and Texas specifically being at 1 and 2, and A&M being at 3, I think they're pretty all interchangeable. They both have 99 rankings. A&M sits at a 97. So they were in a lot of recruitment battles with those 2 other schools. So I think it was it's all subjective, right? I know Megan Hodges committed to Nebraska, and she was obviously a very coveted middle. Texas got a libero that is from the Lone Star State, and that could have also swayed A&M's way. And then, of course, Maija Mortensen, who I personally think is the number 1 player of the class, will be an Aggie in 2028. So it's all subjective. Penn State also got a great outside, Janiyah Barrage, who also A&M was in the mix in her recruitment. So this top 5 is a really strong list, and I think these are the teams also that you're going to see competing for titles year in, year out, which is cool.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking to me to even look at this list, and growing up knowing the volleyball powerhouses that were Nebraska, that is Texas, that is Penn State. Like, you look at and you're like, A&M is right there in the mix with those big schools now. And it's just cool because I know that is solely a product of what Jamie Morrison has done here and what he wants to continue to do, and the staff he's building, the roster he's building. And it's just really, really neat to see A&M having success in that recruiting department. And we talk about it all the time, right? Recruiting is only half of it. You want to get them on campus, and then you need to develop them, and you need them to be good fits in your program. And I think he has the coaching skills to make both of those things happen, to recruit them and then to develop them once they're here and turn them into successful players and great people.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that's cool about this list is Jamie Morrison's contract was obviously extended, and his name is number 4 among the coaching ranks. Jerry Elliott at Texas is number 1, Danny Bozeman-Kelly at Nebraska number 2, Kelly Sheffield at Wisconsin, and then Jamie Morrison sits at number 4. So this list kind of coincides with some of the recruiting rankings that you see. It's just cool to see A&M rewarding Morrison in a way that he knows volleyball matters here. He is a top 5 paid coach. He's going to make $650,000 this next year. Like, he is very valued at Texas A&M, and I'm glad to see that he has a contract that reflects that.
Yeah, it's also crazy. You talk about these names, to see Jamie Morrison grouped in with those people who have been head coaches in this sport for a very long time at the college level.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at Jamie Morrison, who's someone who is stepping into, his 3rd year, 4th year as a head coach at the NCAA level. And it's just like, how are you even in the same realm as them, much less taking them on the court and beating them?
Yeah. Keep in mind, he was never a coach at the Division I NCAA head coach at this level before, and A&M went with the out-of-box hire. I talked to Ava Underwood a little bit about it the other day. It wasn't necessarily thought of, they were very excited when it happened because he had so much coaching experience, especially with men's volleyball and USA volleyball and even the club ranks, that it made sense to bring him to Texas A&M. And it's just so cool to see what we thought this hire could be is exactly what it is.
More.
He has the ability to recruit. He has the ability to win. And I think the coolest thing to me is his doing it with great people.
Yeah, it's so awesome to watch up close and from afar. Like, I feel like we get both viewpoints of it, and it's really cool.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kayla, do you have any final closing thoughts for the Go Hour?
I just want to add also that A&M Baseball announced a return to the 2027 Bruce Bolt Classic at Dakin Park in Houston on March 5th through the 7th. It's the 3rd time the Aggies are going back in 5 years. They went in 2023 and 2025. The 6-team field includes Texas A&M, Houston, Louisiana, Louisville, UConn, and Utah. A&M will play Louisville on Friday Louisiana on Saturday and Houston on Sunday. So good to see baseball making a return back to Houston, only an hour away. So hopefully we'll see a bunch of Aggies in Houston.
Yeah, I got to go to that event with shout out Kennedy Cavan, who I used to host this show with. The great TexAgs employee, lives down in Houston now. Got to go to that with her the last time it was in Houston, so looking forward to that again.
Yeah, and how about the baseball team in general right now? I'm really, really pumped to see what Nolan Cain can bring to this recruiting cycle in the transfer portal and what they're going to continue to do. I think we're expecting some. I know Bronny tweeted something.
Oh yeah,
today.
Bon Voyage.
Yeah,
It's
so
out there.
Stay tuned. I have no idea what he's got up his sleeve, but yeah, I'm excited for that whole program as a whole right now.
Yep, for sure. Well, we're going to hit a break. When we come back, very big guest on the other side. ESPN's Laura Rutledge will be joining the show. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers.
Welcome back to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're hoping to get Laura Rutledge here in just a second, but until we have her, let's just kind of talk about what's going on in the WNBA right now. I know this is like a kind of a hot topic, but it's something that we talked about last night. We talked about earlier this morning. It really is kind of wild to see Caitlin Clark and all of her success that she's had, and what's the way she's being treated on the court, and not only that, but the way it almost feels like it's being ignored, or maybe not.
It was
completely
all over my
acknowledged.
social media yesterday, so I definitely saw it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe at the NBA level, the WNBA level.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting topic for sure. I think any sort of violence in any sport should be frowned upon, regardless of every circumstance out there. I don't think that the video that is being posted anywhere looks pretty brutal, and obviously I know Caitlin Clark and her organization they were very, very upset about it in this press conference after her head coach spoke about it, and yeah, just a very hot topic around sports. I do want to say we do have some breaking news, as Oklahoma transfer left-handed pitcher Trent Collier just committed to Aggie baseball. I know we spoke about it literally last segment that we could have some breaking news in the bon voyage from Bronny, and we definitely had it. So just to read off some of the things that he's done off of Richard's story, he is the 6th pitcher to commit to the maroon and white during the current portal window, as they attempt to overhaul a staff that owned a 5.5 ERA. He had a lone season in Norman. He was a sophomore, was 1-1 across 18 appearances, including 1 start. He struck out 28 batters against 11 walks and 23 and 2 innings pitched, owning a 3.80 ERA and a 1.44 WHIP to go along with a 2.46 batting average against. He just won a national title with the Sooners, so I think that's a great get, and just looking forward to see what 6th portal pitcher. They're definitely taking that issue and making sure it gets addressed immediately.
Yeah, they're definitely addressing it head on. And I don't know about you, I love to see a pitcher commitment. I love even more to see a lefty. I don't know what it is. I really think those lefties are very valuable, and I like to see the southpaws over in Aggie land. We've had some historically good left-handed pitchers who have gone on to be very successful.
Yeah.
And I'm pumped to see what he can bring to this roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's also the 9th overall addition, so definitely getting some value. I'm not sure the number that they necessarily wanted to get or address, depending on roster spots and all that. I know they're also looking out for the draft of who could come back and who's going to come to school, all the freshmen, things like that.
Yeah.
So we probably should get Bronny's take on that. But
yeah, he's probably listening to us like, those girls have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, oh, man. We're going to kick it over to Ms. Kayla Gaither, who has some topics that we should get into.
Yeah, so switching it over to a football topic, one of the users on TexAgs Premium Goods Son asked a question, started a forum, basically saying, who is a previous non-starter who will be a breakout performer this fall? And I wanted to switch the question over to you guys. The requested framework for this question is, this player did not start in 25, did not equally split snaps with the 2025 starter in this position, and just my pick for this question would be Jamarian Morrow.
Yeah.
I think that he's a good non-starter that will definitely see a lot more reps this year and could have a really big breakout year. So over to you guys.
Jamarian Morrow is a great one. We've talked a lot about him, and I think we're all pretty high on what he could do. I'm high on
Jamarian Morrow.
Yeah, I know.
He was my answer for a couple of our superlative questions yesterday. I think he's bound for a successful season in the running back position. I know he's got some competition, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday on Ask Lucci, but someone asked about how they're going to split the snaps in that running back room, and I kind of have to agree with Billy. He said he thinks it'll be like 40-40-20. He said maybe towards the beginning of the year you'll see a 45-45-10, and I'm excited to see both of them and what they can do. Obviously, we know Ruben as a starter over Jamarian. in the past year. But yeah, I'm pumped to see what Jamarian can do.
Yeah, I think a couple that come to mind for me at least are they weren't here last year, so they weren't starters. Houston Thomas, I think, will have a big impact in the tight end room coming from UTSA, College Station kid.
Shout out.
It's his final season. He's a 6'5", 245 tight end. I think he could really have an impact. And then I'm going to go Aaron Gregory in the wide receiver room. Shout out our videographer, Andrew Wu, who's great friends with him. But I think he could also have an impact. Not a starter last year, but it is a packed wideout room, I will say. It feels like you have so much talent there. But I do think he is able to get consistent snaps and also be reliable as a young player. Also, shout out Brandon Arrington. I think that kid is going to wreak havoc on the island.
Yeah, we were talking about him and Houston Thomas yesterday too. I think I would have to go with Houston. I might be a little bit biased. I'm excited to see a former College Station kid in the maroon and white in his hometown. But like you said, that tight end position is very coveted, and I'm curious to see how Holman Wiggins uses the tight ends this year. I know that's been a big question. We've never seen Holman Wiggins as an OC, and I know some people were questioning or not exactly pleased with the way that the tight ends were used under Colin Klein. So I'm kind of curious to see how that room develops and changes with Wiggins at the helm of the OC.
Especially losing Nate and losing Theo. Those were your most reliable guys per se last year in that room. So it's going to look a little different. Micah Riley also being a blocking tight end. So it's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, I'm hearing that we have one of our favorite people on the phone. Our next guest is a familiar face of the program, one of my biggest role models and inspirations in this industry, and I know Kay's as well. As we get closer to another highly anticipated football season, we're so excited to welcome ESPN host Laura Rutledge to TexAgs Live. Laura, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on with you guys.
Yeah, so just catch us up on what you've been up to in, I guess, what you would call your off season, and what you've been doing the past couple weeks.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. It's like the off season doesn't really exist in the NFL because there's always so many things going on. But just, hosting NFL Live and doing a lot of that and a few other special projects right now that have been a lot of fun to work on. And I'm just thankful for it. But I will say I'm really excited for football season to get here. It feels like we hit this point in the summer where you don't want to wish time away, but you do want football. And that's definitely the stage that I'm in right now.
Yeah, as Texas heats up outside, we're like, man, that fall, we can't wait for it. Speaking of Texas A&M football, let's talk about it. I know you have your priorities everywhere with the NFL and college football, but just your overarching thoughts on what Mike Elko's Aggies could accomplish in year 3.
Well, I realize that A&M fans look at last season and there's some disappointment, right, with the way that it finished and the shortened run in the college football playoff. But I think there's a ton to build on from last season. And as much as Marcel Reed didn't perform his best at the end, I think he probably learned a lot, has a ton of experience that cannot be replicated. I mean, playoff experience is just a totally different world. So getting some of that at an early age, I think matters a ton. And Mike Elko probably doesn't get enough credit for what he does. I think there's a lot of drama at times around different schools, and there's different pieces of attention that people pay to what other coaches are doing. And meanwhile, Elko just continues to assemble great teams. And last year was an example of that. I think this year could be another example of that. So they may be a little overlooked at this point, actually, when you look at what the Aggies bring back and just knowing that you have experience at the quarterback position. I think Marcel Reed, especially his dual threat ability, is going to be a lot better next season.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Aggies who kind of feel the same way about that. Speaking of Marcel and just the returning quarterbacks overall in the SEC, what are your thoughts on him as a player? And then also, where do you kind of have him ranking amongst the returning quarterbacks that are coming back to the SEC?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Marcel is it's pretty obvious what he needed to work on, right? We saw the elite athleticism that at times was such a game changer for Texas A&M. And then you saw some defenses kind of figure him out toward the end of the year. That's normal. It happens, right? But what I think should happen going forward is that, once he works on some of the throwing ability, just making sure that you don't take that dynamic piece out of his game, which is his legs. And to me, he's just super interesting from that standpoint. Dual threat quarterbacks have become such a big part of, obviously, college football, but the NFL as well. And I think he has a real opportunity to maybe prove some doubters wrong. I mean, right now I would have him sort of middle of the pack of the guys that are returning, but I think he has a chance to really launch himself into that top echelon and be a huge part of the conversation. I fully expect A&M to be back in the college football playoff conversation.
We talked to Alyssa Lang yesterday, and I asked her about if she thinks A&M is per se overlooked because they are a relatively low drama program. Would you say that Mike Elko kind of just flying a little bit, not being obsessed with being in the headlines or being storylines, has Texas A&M as a program a little bit overlooked?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I just think, you look around and you see some of these massive names, and obviously, you think about Arch Manning at Texas, you think about what's going on with LSU and Lane Kiffin going there and everything that happened with Ole Miss last year, and, Alabama's in the mix. Like, there's all these programs that are normally in the headlines, and then there's others that maybe aren't, but that have reasons to be. And yeah, then there's A&M just kind of quietly building these great rosters. It's kind of like what I was saying about Elko. I think he probably doesn't get enough credit for what he's been able to do, and he's been able to do it in a relatively short period of time. There was a lot, I think, that needed to change at A&M when he got there, and he's done that. He's rebuilt the culture. He's found players that were in line with the type of program that he wanted to run. And for me, maybe that's it, right? Like if you're not doing something really dramatic, maybe you're not in the headlines all the time. But I think what ultimately fans care about is winning. And A&M did a lot of that last year. Again, I know it didn't finish the way they wanted it to, but they got there and they were one of the powerhouses in college football. I think there's a lot that they can learn from last season. You certainly lose some key players like Casey Concepcion, but Mario Craver coming back. Like there's some big names, that are still going to be on this roster that have a connection with Marcel Reed. And I think it matters a ton when you look at what they can really accomplish, whether they're in the headlines or not.
Yeah, you think about schools that are in the headlines, and you have to kind of mention the schools that fired their head coach last year or lost their head coach. And there's 6 new SEC football coaches this year. Maybe not all new to the league, but definitely new to their respective schools. What do you think that those schools are going to do this year, and how having new coaches will affect them going into this 9-game schedule?
Yeah, I mean, LSU is kind of top of the list, right, with Lane Kiffin going there. I think there's a ton of pressure on this team. Now, they should be really good. We've seen what Kiffin's built and what he was able to do at Ole Miss with lesser talent. I mean, listen, Ole Miss at this point is a very talented team. They'll have a talented roster again this season, but what he was able to get out of some of these players is pretty remarkable. And now he goes to a team where he's got all the talent in the world, all the resources in the world. I think it only adds to the pressure, right? So we'll see if they're cut out for it, but I expect them to be right there at the end when we talk about the college football playoff teams that are actually in consideration to win a national championship. And that said, if they're not, it's a massive disappointment. So pretty interesting. I think Coach Summerall at Florida is exciting. And, Florida was one of those teams that maybe was in the mix for Kiffin to go there. And then that didn't end up happening. I think there were some Gators fans that felt like they were a little disappointed. And I would just say that Summerall, while it may take some time and Florida definitely has some ground to make up, I think he's by far the best hire for the school and for building a program. So I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how he puts that into action, whether it's, just looking a little better at times, maybe actually sneaking some wins that people don't expect. I want to temper expectations, but I do think that he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's a different age in the SEC with all these new coaches this year, and it's kind of fun. I mean, to think about the possibilities and different programs that may launch themselves into a bigger conversation because of the coaches. But at the end of the day, I think we all know it comes down to the players. It comes down to these rosters in this day and age of college football. That's ultimately what it is. It's not even anywhere near as much about the coaches as it used to be.
You spoke a little bit about John Summerall at Florida, and want to get your just thoughts on what 2026 could look like for your Florida Gators. What do you think that fair expectations for him in year one will be?
Yeah, I think fair is be patient. I think it's going to take some time. Listen, if Florida can somehow pull off 6 wins even, that would be, I think, a win in a bigger picture way, which I know Florida fans are like, come on, we're tired of that. And what happened in the Billy Napier era was certainly a disappointment. But it's interesting. I mean, they've got a pretty decent quarterback battle going on. I think there's going to be a lot of talent there that can definitely compete at the SEC level, but this league is incredibly difficult to win in. So I would just caution people to have massive expectations for Summerall in year one. I don't think anybody, with a reasonable take on college football would. But I think what you will see is, again, a culture change that's brewing and the potential of what he can do going forward, which I believe is massive.
Absolutely. I want to kind of get into a more personal question. You made the decision to step away from SEC Nation this past year. What kind of led to that decision? And I know there are a ton of young girls in this industry who look up to you and what you do in your career and definitely want to follow in that. And what kind of went into the decision to be like, okay, this is the time and kind of pursue the NFL more seriously?
Yeah, I mean, I think if really the decision was left up to me, I would have stayed on SEC Nation as long as I possibly could. I mean, that's just how much the show mattered to me and matters to me still. Ultimately, in ESPN Super Bowl year, there's just so much else that I have to do right now that I'm excited about doing. But I say it that way just to illustrate how much SEC Nation has mattered to me and meant to me. And I think, this is a business where you can sort of take the approach of I'm going to keep leaping and climbing to the next thing and maybe forget where you came from. And for me, like SEC Nation is where I came from. That's the first show that gave me a chance. It's the first show that gave me a chance to host. And I really valued that. And I wanted to commit to it and try to pour back into it the way that it had poured into me. So it's definitely a bittersweet goodbye for so many reasons. The fun thing is I still will be very involved in college football. So it's not like I'm fully stepping away from the sport, but I do think that it's worth remembering for anybody that wants to get into this career that there are times where you have to say, all right, I'm going to move on to the next thing. And it's okay for that to be hard. It's okay for that to be something that maybe you struggled with in a big way, but it's also okay to look back and be proud of what you did.
I want to ask you about kind of the blend of taking college football to the NFL level. Just how much do you enjoy that, getting to see some of these guys that you covered at the collegiate level be taking their talents to the NFL? And are you looking forward to covering a bunch more Aggies in the NFL next season with 10 Aggies coming off the board in the latest NFL draft?
Yes, I am. That's one of my favorite things. Anybody who I work with knows this, but I love the NFL draft because it's finally like a convergence of both of my worlds. And it's so cool to see these guys that, I had the privilege of covering in college and sort of know their stories, know their journeys. And then they get to the NFL and you see them flourish and have these great careers. I was recently thinking about this with Myles Garrett going to the Rams and very well being set up to win a Super Bowl. I mean, very likely, I should say. I covered him in college. I covered him at A&M, and I remember when he was in college talking about his dinosaur books and stuff. And here he is, like one of the best, if not the best, defensive players in the NFL who is really setting himself up, I think, for what could be an incredible way to continue his career and potentially win a championship. So it's so fun. And I think one thing that's interesting is when I started covering the NFL, there were a lot of people that were like, oh, well, how are you going to make that transition? And it's so different from college. And that is true. But what I've leaned on is saying, I know these players and I know where they came from. And I probably know a lot more about them even than somebody who's just exclusively covered the NFL because so much of their journey from high school to college even matters when it comes to telling their stories at the next level.
Laura, we can't thank you enough for joining us this morning and hopping on. I know it means a lot to the both of us that we got the chance to talk to you just about your career in college football and the NFL. We wish you the best of luck in your new endeavors, and we're glad to know that you won't be too far from college football.
Thank you, and I'm so proud of you, too. What you're doing is awesome, and I think it's so cool to have two women on this show, and I'm just a big fan of both of you. So keep going. I know there's probably days where you're like, man, what am I even doing? But you should be really proud of all the hard work that you're putting in, and I promise it'll pay off.
Well, thank you.
We appreciate
Yeah,
it. The GOAT, Laura Rutledge.
Thank you so much. We'll be back on the other side of the break with an open segment. We'll get into some more topics that we've kind of already dove into today. Stay tuned. This is TexAgs Live presented by David Garner's Jewelers.
Welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers, here inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. Going to kick it to Miss Kayla Gaither in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
All right, I have another topic for you guys. It's college football based. Yet again, I'm going to ask you guys some bold college football predictions for 2026 that you would bet your own money on. I'm going to start it off by saying, despite all the offseason drama, all the stuff with Brendan Sorsby, I think Texas Tech is still going to be pretty good this year, even one of the teams making the playoffs. So I'm going to kick it to you guys. What are your bold college football predictions for this year?
I think that's a bold take, Kayla. That's what I have to say.
I think my uncle would really love it. He's a Tech guy, and he would really appreciate hearing that. I don't know enough about them, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start this off by saying I don't sports bet. I don't waste my money on stupid things like that. I can't imagine what it is like to lose money on sports. For those of you who don't understand, that's complete satire. I absolutely sports bet.
Yeah, when Kayla said bet your own money, I was like, they don't need that much,
Kaylee Dreyer's ears perked up just now.
Kaylee Dreyer's
I can read y'all Tech's schedule, by the way, if you need a little
let's hear
help
it.
here. So they open with Abilene Christian, to Oregon State, Houston at home. That's their Big 12 opener. Then they get Sam Houston at Colorado versus Arizona State. That's the first game to me where I'm like, okay, maybe that's a tough game, but that's at home for them. At Cincinnati, Arizona, West Virginia, at Oklahoma State, at Baylor, versus TCU to close the year. So
I'm
typical
thinking,
Big 12 schedule.
Yeah, maybe one loss for them if their QB, Will Hammond, is doing pretty well.
So you're predicting a playoff appearance.
I am predicting, and I think the committee is maybe going to say, since all the Brendan Sorsby stuff happened, like maybe we'll give you guys a little bit of a playoff push. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I don't know if I'm buying that one, Kayla. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to.
I'm glad that's your money on that bet.
Yeah.
I'll keep my money to myself over here.
Big Will Hammond fan over there.
Yeah.
That's like a Matthew Dawson take where it's just like, all his
Could
Heisman
either,
odds.
yeah.
It's like, it could either be right on the money or you're losing
completely wrong.
all your money. I wouldn't call this too much of a bold take. I think Jeremiah Smith is going to win the Heisman this year. I think he's produced at a consistent level, and Ohio State has all the makings of being great again with Julian Sand returning a quarterback. It seems like they always have success, so not too much of a bold take. His Heisman odds are like fourth when you look at the returning producers, including quarterbacks, and he was a previous top 6 Heisman finisher last season, so that's my bold take.
I like it.
Yeah.
I would not be opposed to him winning the Heisman.
Yeah.
I am going to go that Texas finishes outside the top 2 in the SEC and that they end up a 4-loss team this year.
Okay.
Bold
Well,
prediction.
Go ahead.
Bold prediction. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, Callie Garner.
I mean, their schedule's tough.
Yeah, it is. All right, well, we got to hit a break. We have a very important guest on the other side. Mr. Paul Finebaum will be joining us. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers.
Welcome back to TexAgs Live. Joining us now is one of college football's most recognizable voices. He's been at the center of SEC coverage and national conversations around the sport for decades. You know him from ESPN and the Paul Finebaum Show. I know I am so excited. Kay Naegeli is so excited to welcome Paul Finebaum to TexAgs. Paul, we appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning.
Well, howdy, and Callie, thank you so much. And I would be remiss if I didn't start off by talking about one of my favorite people in the entire world, Porter Garner, who not only befriended me before and as Texas A&M was coming into the league, but has been truly a remarkable resource, and I dare say one of the most important and influential people in the modern history of Texas A&M. And I know he's moving on, but I am just so thrilled to get to know both of you and know you a little bit better, Callie, but I couldn't start without talking about my friend Porter.
Yeah, well, I know he also thinks the world of you, and Paul Finebaum has been a hot topic around our house since I can remember, and it's really great to get to chat with you today.
Well, what I really appreciate is, and I've gotten to know your mom too. We had dinner the last time I was out there, and the heat that your dad has taken for acknowledging that he even knows me, let alone be friends with me from some Aggies, is truly a remarkable sign of friendship.
Yeah, Paul, well, we appreciate you joining us. As we were preparing this, we were like, man, we kind of both have interesting connections to you. I was on your show, your back to school week back in 2022, and I had just started at TexAgs. I was still a student, and we were talking about the Jimbo Fisher era and what Connor Wigman was going to do. So just curious how that segment of yours has kind of, how you've seen it just grow. And it's really cool for me personally that that's something that I was really excited to do. And then it's turned into me having a career in this.
Well, listen, that is something that I wish I could take credit for, but our producers came up with. Jamari Jordan, who is a few years ahead of you, and he graduated from Georgia. He thought about that, and we started doing it, and it is so gratifying for somebody my age when I come onto a campus and meet folks like you, and they'll come up and say, "Hey, I was on your," and it just really means a great deal. And I think what it's done, it's connected the SEC network to where we should be connecting, and that's the campus. And I'd say if my career ends today, and I have a few things I'm going to say that probably will end my career on your show today, it would be one of the proudest things that we've accomplished as a group and as a program. And I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, that's really neat to see something like that come full circle in this moment. Mm-hmm. I want to kind of go a more broad college football topic with you for a second. You hear the phrase, that's a better coaching job than that all the time, especially in the offseason where there's hirings and firings of head coaches. And analysts and fans tend to rank coaching jobs based on traditions and championships and brand recognition. But you've spent decades talking to coaches behind the scenes. I'm curious to know if there's a difference in those coaches' eyes, what actually makes a job elite, and are the head coaching jobs that they covet the same that fans and analysts would maybe recognize as?
Kay and Kelly, it's one of the oldest cliches in the world to say that he's a good fit for this job, or that's an incredible job. But let me give you an example. Brian Kelly, 5 years ago, was one of the top coaches in America. He went to LSU, and it didn't work. And it didn't work primarily because he was a bad fit. You're trying to shove something that doesn't work into that spot. The one that really baffles me is what you said a minute ago, Jimbo Fisher. He should have worked at Texas A&M because I think he could on the front end. You thought he could relate to the culture, but in the end he could not. And that's what happens. You have to be you have to be able to work. And I'm gonna talk about Mike Elko now. You didn't really know with Mike Elko if he could fit in to the Texas A&M mindset. But he is so smart and so adaptable that he did. He had great alignment. Now, a lot of that has changed. I mean, you can only control some things. You can't control the president, the AD, and all these things that are constantly revolving in college athletics. But I think he's the smartest coach in college football. And because I think he is so smart and so brilliant and so in tune with the room, that you put him in a spot where the previous coach didn't work, and he is working.
Yeah, speaking of just different SEC head coaches, there's a lot of first-year coaches in the league. Speaking of someone like Lane Kiffin, who's been in it, and then a lot of others that haven't lived in this SEC gauntlet before. Just curious your expectations for a few of those guys and how they're going to adapt in this 9-game SEC schedule.
Well, Kiffin is by far the most interesting, and I'm always revolving. I'm too out of touch to come up with the right social culture adaptation to him. About 12, 13 years ago, I called him the Miley Cyrus of college football. And then when Miley Cyrus had a comeback, I then gave him, he's the Kardashian of college football. The problem is, I don't know if there's anybody out there that in pop culture that is even relatable to him, because he's successful for being famous. Taylor Swift is successful and she's famous, but she's also one of the most talented musicians of her time. I'm still not convinced Lane Kiffin is one of the most talented coaches of his era. He knows how to gain attention, but the ultimate test is going to be what happens right now. He has never had this type of pressure on him before. Is LSU a great job? Yeah, but it didn't work for Brian Kelly, and it should work for him. But how he deals with the pressure is going to ultimately decide. And we can sit here and do in late June, which fan base turns on a coach more than any other. But I dare say the LSU fan base is in contention for number one, because they have turned on Les Miles won a championship, got fired. Orgeron fired. Brian Kelly never even got to that point. And if he starts off poorly, they will turn on him, and that's the one thing that we don't know. The other coaches are all dealing with much less pressure. I think of the group that are having their first SEC head coaching job, I think John Summerall is by far the best of that group, and probably in the best position at Florida. And Will Stein's got an easier job because he's at Kentucky, Silverfield at Arkansas. The expectations is just not to embarrass the university, where Goish at Auburn, they haven't had a winning record in 6 years. So every one of those situations is a little bit different.
Yeah, I want to take it back to Mike Elko for a second. And just, probably as well as anyone, the reputation that A&M has had of underperforming and not succeeding, as well as anyone does. Since arriving at Texas A&M, how do you think Mike Elko has been able to change the perception in that narrative to coaches around the league and just college football fans in general?
He's done it very quietly, without fanfare, but he's done it on the football field. He hasn't done it by being a blowhard, by overpromising, by making declarations at the press conference. I know all that sounds like I'm talking about Jimbo Fisher, because I am talking about Jimbo Fisher. There are so many smarter people about Texas A&M than I am. But it remains one of the greatest mysteries of my career in recent years at the SEC, in trying to understand why Texas A&M doesn't have this long list of championships up in the stadium. Because I don't think you could find a university where all the things I'm saying you ladies already know, where the fan base is more loyal, it's more passionate, it's more bought in. There's more tradition for a lot of incredibly meaningful things, where the infrastructure is wound very tight in a positive way. And I think it's getting there. I really do believe Mike Elko will break that barrier. And in a fairly short period of time, will win a national championship at Texas A&M. There's no reason why he can't do that. And I think he's the best hope. And in looking over the coaches that I've covered since the SEC move, someone had potential, came close with Johnny Manziel, and then it got away from him. And really since then, it's just been a roller coaster. I think, the Fisher era, there'll be dissertations written about why it didn't work. But it came close. There was that moment in time when it came very, very close. But I think Elko will do it because he seems to embrace the moment. It never seems too big for him, and I think that's because of his background. I think sometimes Mike Elko was like wondering, how did I get here? Because he's just if you line up the 16 SEC head coaches, he probably looks the least likely to be an SEC head coach. But it's also why I believe he is one of the most successful.
There's many opinions around the offseason about what it's going to take for Texas A&M to get back to the playoff this fall, and a lot of those discussions land on Marcel Reed and him being more consistent and less turnover prone. Just in your opinion, what is it going to take for A&M to get back there this fall?
I think you said it. I think it's simple. It's not you don't need some great football mind, which I'm not, to dissect what Marcel Reed did wrong last year. It was just the little things in the moments that they could ill afford it. The Texas game it's just one of those games that I can't quite explain why things like that happen. If you go back and go frame by frame in the Miami game, I mean there's 15 reasons where A&M could have won that game and should have won that game, other than just the very last play that cost them the moment. And I think those are things that are easily overcomable, and I think he's capable of that. The schedule's every time I say the schedule is tricky on our show every afternoon. We put up a schedule, and it's the same answer with every school. But A&M having to go on the road to Alabama, that's problematic. But on the other hand, getting the biggest game of the year at home should work to the Aggies' favor.
Paul, I want to close with just a broad college football topic. You've covered college sports for decades, and you've seen the landscape change so much, more than anyone probably. How do you think your career has shaped how you view college athletics, specifically college football today?
Well, I started my career, I covered the last 2 years of a pretty famous former Aggie coach, Paul Bryant, and it really helped adapt me. I mean, I was the youngest guy covering Bear Bryant at Alabama. 3 years ago, when Nick Saban retired, I was the oldest guy covering the greatest guy. I mean, I twice in my career, I have either said I was a writer before I was a broadcaster. Bear Bryant retired today as the greatest coach in college football history, and I said it again 3 years ago when Nick Saban retired. So I bring all that because I've seen an enormous amount. But one thing that has never changed is my passion for that first Saturday and the fans' passion and all the conversation about NIL and all the hullabaloo about the wild, wild west and how college football is untenable and it's falling. It is not. I don't need to tell you to. You're at a stadium. You're at a place where the stadium on Saturday afternoon or hopefully Saturday night is as insane a cauldron of energy as any place in the world. And we all talk, we're watching the World Cup going, well, this is the greatest sport. Well, I'll compare any moment with the World Cup to a Saturday night at Kyle Field. I mean, these things are interchangeable, but fans still want to be there, even though the sport has gone crazy. It is outpriced almost everyone. The fact that players are making the kind of money they are, it still doesn't change those 3.5 hours on Saturday.
Paul, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It means a lot to both of us that you hopped on and spent your time with us. We're looking forward to seeing you in Tampa at SEC Media Days and then hopefully at a game in Kyle Field in the fall.
And I just want to say how proud I am of both of you. Callie, I've gotten to know you, obviously, and Kay, the fact that it's only been 4 years since, and I don't even think you were nervous that day.
Oh,
That's
gosh.
what really bothered
I definitely
me. You were just so cool that, and anyway, look at you, young ladies now, and all the very best. And thanks for having me on.
Of course, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Means a lot. We will hit a quick break and come back with a quick open segment on the other side. Thanks for tuning in. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
little Taylor Swift bringing you back on the final segment of the 9 o'clock hour. Really quick, we're going to flip it over to Miss Kayla Gaither in the TexAgs, the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. She has what's on TexAgs today.
Before I get into what's on TexAgs today, just want to reiterate it's never a bad time to be a TexAgs premium subscriber because even in the off season, we have so much content coming out on the site. And today we have an Ask Liucci on the site. We also have a field level interview with TJ Searcy presented by the 12th Man Foundation. We also have an article by OB about Aggie linebackers presented by Texas Best Home Loans. We have the full Alyssa Lang interview from yesterday's show. And we have the huddle with Julio Humphrey. And then later today, Jason Howell's 3 Things. We have a Texas Aggies United interview with Anto Saka and a PJ Haggerty interview.
Tons of stuff going on.
So much stuff.
So busy. It's summer, but we're not slowing down over here.
We're like, oh, summertime hits. It's going to slow down. Never does.
But wouldn't have it any other way.
You're right about that. All right, so we're going to hit a break here. On the other side, Billy Liucci, TexAgs executive owner and co-owner and executive editor, will join us on the other side. Hopefully we get him in here early. We never know what he's going to do. We will see you on the other side.
Welcome back to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio with none other than the Billy Liucci, who is pouring his coffee from one cup into another.
Well, I don't like the taste of that plastic lid, but this is also a really crappy cup.
You're very particular about your coffee cups.
I am. I love a good mug.
It's a big risk you're running, right? I mean, just one slight
I know,
mismovement, and that's
well, that's pretty.
going everywhere.
What's this?
This is a wedding invitation
Oh, really?
to one of our very own. Save the date, Jamie.
Aw. Congrats, Jams.
Jams, congrats.
Awesome.
That's exciting.
How fun.
And
That's a pretty save the date.
I know.
yeah, just wondering if y'all are gonna invite me to your wedding
Yeah, I was gonna say
when
do
the
you
days
see-
come.
do you
When the
see
days come.
any rings on any fingers?
Billy knows something we don't, I guess.
You know a lot that I don't know. That
Gave away 2 secrets.
What have you been up to this morning?
Listen to y'all for a little bit. Listen to y'all with Paul. I thought that was really good. He had some. I want to talk about his take on A&M because I agree with him. I was listening coming over here and wanted to talk about it. And then just a little breakfast. Watched a little. Actually, today, what did I watch? Today I watched a little Wake Up Barstool. I have fun on that show, so it's fun. It's a little right now though. Everything's a little too much soccer for me. A little too much soccer. I like it. I like having that going on. I might even go to Houston to go check out one of the matches or Dallas, but I love like how all the international fans are loving the US and taking over these places like Texas Live and bars and streets but on my sports shows, I've got way too many people talking like they actually know what they're talking about that really don't. So I'm just like, I don't know about this.
We've stayed far off World Cup.
Yeah.
It's
in
only
here.
been brought up once on our 2 days of hosting, and
Yeah.
not because neither of us brought
And
it
I think
up.
that is solely because not only do I not find it the most enjoyable, I am so sorry to Luke Evangelist for saying that, but I don't know a lot about it.
Yeah.
And that's just not something I'm going to sit and talk about when I don't know.
I would say I enjoy it, and I'm enjoying the U.S. Having it feeling like they can actually make a run. It's cool. I follow it every 4 years, and I follow Olympic soccer. So it's like I'll get into it enough to follow it, but I can't sit here and talk it and tell you about all the players in the world. And I was at dinner last night with a couple buddies of mine, three friends, and a couple of them like knew like, oh, that guy on, how are we saying it now? Turkey. Like he, oh, that guy plays for Madrid, and like I don't know all that. I don't follow the professional leagues, so I can only tell you a handful of players. But it's fun and it's entertaining, and it's in the U.S. is making it a lot more. But I still am not going to sit here and pretend like I know. Yeah. I understand soccer, but beyond that, I don't know all the personalities. I couldn't tell you who the 3 favorites are right now. I'm just watching it, and I'm enjoying watching everyone enjoy it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, that's what I did this morning. And hung out with Griffin, had a little yogurt, and headed over here.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't even know the World Cup was every 4 years until
I
this year.
didn't either.
All
I know is that I'm second in our staff thing,
Are
and
you?
I don't know even know how I pulled that.
That is a lot better
and
than
I
me.
know 0.
And I'm terrible. I'm in the middle of the pack somehow, and all I have are like these Middle Eastern teams. Like they're just, I got no chance.
That Luke Evangelist just gave you because
I gave you the last pick out of 16, Billy. But you also get pick number 17. Oh, that's going to do me a whole lot of good.
I will say I was pick number 15, so I think Luke just was out for us that day.
Yeah, he knew we weren't the big.
Where did Luke fall in this pick? Do we
I think he
remember?
was like 3rd or 4th.
He was pretty high up there. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You want to talk about what Paul was saying?
Let's do it.
Let's go for it.
Throw y'all off the schedule a
That's
little bit. I just thought what he's talking about with A&M, and he says one of the great mysteries since A&M's been in the SEC, like why haven't they had he basically said, why don't they have multiple trophies? And I think that's from the outside looking in, I think that's a really fair assessment, especially from someone like Paul or a Greg McElroy or Cole Kubelik, Doring, like these people that cover the SEC every day and have for years now. Even those younger guys I mentioned, they've been doing it for years and years. And when they look at A&M, what they see is the resources. They see the commitment level. They look at that stadium. They look at what we're doing with facilities. Remember, since we've been in the SEC, we built a $500 million stadium, and then they did a $200+ million facilities funding raise to redo. They redid the indoor, the whole, the weight room like twice, everything. So facilities, stadium. You look at the recruiting rankings every year, nutrition, like all the best of the best, and paying the money since we've been in the SEC. They went out and got Jimbo. They've had a hot coach in Sumlin with Johnny, and a couple times we've hit this thing where like here they come. Once under Sumlin early, once under Jimbo, kind of in the middle there. Never get it done, like over the hump. And by that, I think people they mean either a championship or they mean like, hey, there's Texas A&M top 5 program. They're in it. They're contending every year. Because you look at these Saturdays at Kyle Field, the fan support, the game day atmosphere, the recruiting base here in Texas. Now we've transitioned into the NIL era, and what everyone knows A&M is capable of on the NIL front, and they've maximized that. We're a top, let's just say a top 5 player in that space. All of those things. And we have nothing to show for it in terms of a SEC title ring or a trophy or SEC title game appearance, playoff run. But my answer to that is pretty simple. A&M's been in the league for 15 years. They were in the Big 12 only 16. You got to get the right coach. Alabama did nothing for a long time between Stallings and Saban. Okay, and before Stalling, Michigan did nothing for a long time before Harbaugh. Ohio State had a couple bad hires. Tennessee has done nothing since, the peak of Philip Fulmer. Tennessee's a great program. 1998 was a long time ago. We're closing in on 30 years for the Vols. Look at them. Florida has not figured it out in several coaches now since Urban Meyer. Oklahoma, for those Aggies that know this, that are, my age or older, Oklahoma was absolute trash throughout the Big 12, like not the Big 12. They ended up dominating the Big 12 throughout A&M's Big 12 tenure, right up until the very end there. I'm sorry. Stoops got there and they turned, so it's 2000. So, what's his name from Miami? Bo Schembechler. They had, Gary Gibbs, John Blake. They went through 3 coaches, a decade of like nothingness. I could keep going. USC can't seem to get it back post Pete Carroll, even with Lincoln Riley. You have to have the right guy leading the ship. You have to have the right coach, and then you also have to have alignment. And we've talked often about how A&M has lacked that. Jimbo almost got it there. Someone almost got it there. You just haven't found the right guy since R.C. Slocum. And A&M hit it back-to-back with Jackie and R.C. You haven't had the right guy for this place since then. Look at Texas. Yeah. Charlie Strong, Tom Herman, John Makovic, even though he won one Big 12 title, Makovic. Prior to that, was it McWilliams? Texas didn't have the right coach. I think they have their guy, the right guy for them right now in Sark. They didn't have it. They missed like 4 out of 5 after Darrell Royal. You got to have the guy. A&M has not been able to find the right guy at the right time. I do believe that that's Mike Elko. And despite all of that, what no one talks about, and I don't think they should, but they don't seem to understand, A&M's been pretty good since joining the SEC. You know, they've had 3 top 10 finishes. There's only 2 other programs that have more since they joined the league. 2. That's crazy to think about. Not LSU, not Florida. It's Georgia and Alabama are the only 2. Ole Miss and A&M both have 3. A&M's got 2 top 5 finishes. They've had a Heisman Trophy. They've had a ton of draft picks. I think their overall record is I think if you throw out Texas and OU, I think they're 4th in overall record since joining the league. So they've had success. They just haven't had anything that you would truly write home about.
Yeah.
Which is getting to Atlanta, winning in Atlanta, playoff wins. But they got their first playoff berth, and that was in year 2 under this coach. I think it's just simply about getting the right guy, and A&M hasn't quite been able to land on that, and I think they have with Elko.
I think it's a little bit too that consistency piece of you had a great year or 2 under someone. You have these peaks of a year or 2. So
it's really one.
Yeah, it's really
They've
one.
not backed it up.
So that's why I think this year is very important for Mike Elko in specific.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've been saying that all like A&M in Oklahoma and Ole Miss for a different reason. Had Kiffin been back, they would be in the same boat. Now I think it's even more imperative for Ole Miss. But those A&M and OU, it's like, and Texas for a different reason. It's proving time for those programs. The Aggies and OU, Venables and Elko have to show like, hey, this is, like you said, this is the norm. We can stack this now. You guys that cover us, you recruits, the world of college football can expect us to be here year in and year out. So we're going to be like, we're a few years behind it. We're going to be like Oregon. We're just kind of like the last couple of years, and this year everybody expects them there. That's going to be us. We're the next team that you can kind of put into that group where you expect it. And hell, who knows? Maybe we're going to replace Alabama in that group. I know that sounds crazy, but you look at DeBoer's first 2 seasons, and you look at what all they lost, and you look at how much they're kind of, you can tell they're very uncomfortable with the current NIL format, the current state of college football, maybe much more so than the A&Ms, Texas, and Oregons and Ohio States of the world. But if you're A&M, you can say we're going to be here now. And it's the same really probably for OU and Brent Venables. And for Texas, it's, are you going to announce that despite all the hype, you're not going to be there?
Yeah.
I think they'll get there this year. I think their schedule's really tough. I think their team, it's interesting because if they lose to Ohio State, you got to go 8-1 in the SEC to assure yourself of being
pretty
in.
Brutal.
Now with that schedule, maybe Texas can get in at 9-3. I think they'll get in. I think they have a lot going for them. I don't think they're going to go undefeated or anything like that. But I think if they don't, and you go 2 years in a row without getting in, and Texas A&M and or OU do get in a second year in a row, how much does the balance of power shift? And how restless do they get in Austin? So I think all 3 of these programs, the former Big 12 programs, have a lot to prove this year in terms of, are we shutting the door behind us and we're in the club now, or are we still kind of right there at the front of the line?
Yeah, we talked about earlier something in the coming football season that you would bet your own money on. And I had, I guess, what was the hot take in the fact that I think that Texas is going to not finish in the top 2 of the SEC and that they're going to have 4 losses on their schedule. And I don't think they'll make the playoff. But I think when you look at their schedule, they have that Ohio State game. I think they dropped the OU game. I think Brent Venables, I mean, we were talking about both of those programs, and that feels like
he finds the end zone against them.
Yeah, finally.
But I get what you're saying.
And then they come to Kyle Field. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and the fact that is, for Mike Elko, it feels like a must-win game because it is year 3 against
it's really important.
The Longhorns. And then that's...
And 2 at home.
Yeah, 2 at home. And he knows that not only is it desired for the fan base, but once you lose 3 in a row to the same coach, it feels a little bit concerning in that regard.
Yeah, the 2, it bothers me because I want to win all of them against Texas. I never want to lose at Kyle Field. And I also don't want them ruining a perfect season like they did last year. So both those losses have really, I think, stung the A&M fan base just because of what it meant. And by the way, both of them kept you out of the SEC title game.
Mm-hmm.
Again, where you've never been. And I know nowadays it's like, well, we still got to the playoff. And I understand that. And hell, if A&M would have won 3 games in the playoff or a couple, I don't think many people would care. But I do want to see A&M in Atlanta before. And I don't think they're doing away with that game in the immediate future. But I feel like eventually that's going to happen around college football. I don't think it's in the next couple of years. But, I mean, I want to see the Aggies in Atlanta against a Georgia or like one of these SEC regulars or against Texas, which you could have had 2 years ago. But to lose, like, the way what was at stake, but 2 is not good. But, like, to me, that first one, that Texas team was a lot better than A&M. That Texas team was from me to you, okay, that about this distance from tying Ohio State with 2 minutes left and having a real chance. They would have beat Notre Dame for the national title. They were from here to there, from playing a 2-minute drill to see who can go win a national title. A&M was in year 1 under a head coach and went 8-4. Like, there was a noticeable gap between the two teams that year, and understandably so. You had just fired a head coach. You had a new head coach there for year 1. And so the 0-2 isn't just crazy to me because you went and lost in the second half on the road against a team that was playing their best ball and finished 10-3. 3 is, like you said, I think it becomes like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And look, you need to beat your rival in any sport, but you damn sure need to beat your rival when it's Texas and you're Texas A&M. So, yeah, without question, that's the biggest game this year. I would have contended to you last year that I thought Notre Dame was the biggest for a lot of different reasons. And as it turns out, it was. You lost Texas, you beat Notre Dame. That allowed you to get in the playoff. That Notre Dame win had you in the conversation all year. It's why you're recruiting the way you are now, because you were in the conversation all year. You didn't sneak in at the end and go, oh, wow, they just beat Texas. Maybe we should look more harder at A&M. No, you were in from the moment you beat A&M, and you never let it go. I mean, when you beat Notre Dame, to me this year, that game is Texas. There's not another one. And I know they all count the same and stuff, but there's not another one. It's that one. But again, I also like where this team is and where this trajectory is heading enough to know that it's not just another game of the let's say 9 or the 10, the 9 plus Arizona State. It's not just one of those, but I also believe this team can win enough again that if you take whether it's Texas, OU, Alabama, Tennessee, LSU, whoever, that they could lose any one of those and still reach the playoff, because I think they're going to be good enough to, if I look at their schedule today, the team I think they are, I think they're better than everyone on their schedule save Bama, Texas, and OU. And I don't know, I think OU and Bama probably on the same level. Texas, I'll give them a tick above. I think they're a preseason top 5 team. I think A&M is a preseason top 10, along with OU and maybe even Alabama. I think those 3 might be 3 of your teams from number 6 to number 10 or 11. So win one of those 3 and beat the teams you're better than, and you're in the playoff. And that's really oversimplifying, because we're not talking about Tennessee and LSU on the road and Missouri on the road and South Carolina. Everyone has that issue this year, though. Schedule's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazingly tough for everyone, except Georgia, ironically enough.
Yeah, we'll hit a break and come back on the other side with some more football conversation. I want to talk a little bit about the LSU game specifically. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Everyone, David Nuno here for Allen Honda. Had a great conversation with them earlier today. John Allen's the owner. He's been here forever, and also their GM, Rusty Skinner, great guy. Wonderful conversation. They're super local. They're a family-owned dealership, not some massive auto group, and they treat their customers like family because they basically are family. They're Aggie alums. They love Aggie sports, and they've been serving the Brazos Valley with integrity, with passion, and commitment to excellence for over 50 years, which is very rare, by the way, for the independents because people trust them. And that's why they've been doing it for such a long time. Whether you're looking to buy, lease, or service your vehicle, you can count on them for transparent, no pressure experience that puts your needs first. And I can attest to it. Had a great conversation about my own situation with them. Their knowledgeable sales team will help you find the perfect Honda to fit your lifestyle, from fuel-efficient sedans to versatile SUVs. Leasing options are flexible and affordable, making it easy to drive the latest models with confidence. And when it comes to service, their certified technicians only use genuine Honda parts to keep your vehicle running at its best, whether it's routine maintenance for major repairs or whatever it may be. And we know that trust isn't given, it is earned, and that's why generations of local drivers right here in the Brazos Valley and Bryan College Station keep coming back to Allen Honda. As part of the community with Aggie spirit in their hearts, they are here to make everyone's visit wonderful. So visit their showroom or their service lane and find friendly, efficient, and memorable situations when you go to Allen Honda. Come see why so many College Station and Bryan drivers choose Allen Honda for their automotive needs, and remember, gig 'em.
Welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers inside the Rollo Insurance Studio with our very own co-owner Billy Liucci and our favorite boss. I want to ask you about some ESPY nominations.
Oh, interesting.
Recently came out. TexAgs' very own intern, Kendall Stowers,
Saw that.
was nominated for Best Comeback Player. Just such a cool honor for her.
Man, if you really think about it, and we know her story very well, it's been well publicized and documented. And as you said, she's here now all the time. She's been a great addition. Like, I think just personality-wise, it's been fun getting to know her a little bit. And I know for all y'all, like just somebody that we've covered, and like everyone else, we watch just excel at the highest level of one of, her, Logan, Ava, who's here all the time, that entire team, what they did in terms of, it's as good as we've ever seen from a team sport at A&M.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And then for her story to come back from what she came back from, it's funny because, what was it, not this Super Bowl, but the February before, and I was talking to, ironically enough, two players that ended up playing against A&M and losing to A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Olivia Babcock from Pitt and Harper Murray from Nebraska. They were both at a Super Bowl party we were at, not one night, but the next night. The next night, talked to them for a long time, and Harper had played for Jamie, and so we're going on, and they had just, I think A&M was going to play Nebraska, if I'm not wrong on this, Kay, when they lost to Wisconsin.
Yes, yeah, they were set up to
So
play.
we were talking about that, and they were like, man, and they had said A&M's going to be really good, and they knew all about Stowers.
Mm-hmm.
They knew it because they were like, well, now y'all have her.
Mm-hmm.
So she, like in volleyball circles, it was well known how good she was, but I don't even know if the A&M fans quite understood what was coming because she was sidelined. And because, at Baylor and because of what happened. So I think that's an amazing comeback story, and it ends in a championship, a first ever championship. And really, if you really know the sport, one of the more improbable championships ever because of the path they had to go through to get there. So I'd love to see her win it. I don't know who the competitors are, but it's a pretty amazing comeback story. So unless she just gets a little pushed down because it's college and not pro, and they're up against somebody more high profile, I just can't imagine a more compelling comeback story when it ends in a championship and you're one of the key figures in that championship.
Yeah, the other competitors in that category are Christian McCaffrey, and then golf's Anthony Kim and Savvy King. I'm not sure of their stories.
I'm sure our golf people could tell us that, but McCaffrey, that's fine, but I would take Kendall Stowers. I hate, though, that she's going up against 3 pro athletes in that one.
Yeah, and Savvy King is a professional soccer player with Angel City FC. So, yeah, I'm not sure of their stories, but I'm like, I know Stowers' story, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Another nominee for Best NFL Player and Best Record-Breaking Performance is, an Aggie himself, Myles Garrett. He broke the single-season sack record with 23 sacks in 2025, and also a defensive player has never won this award for Best NFL Player, and he could very well take it home.
Yeah, he could. And, who was better than him last year? I think there's 2 guys. I think it's him. I think it's Matthew Stafford. And that's about it.
Yeah.
If your best player, it's hard. I would have a hard time arguing either one of those dudes from last year.
Yeah. I'd
love to see Myles get it.
Stafford, Garrett, JSN, and Drake May are the 4.
Yeah, Myles Garrett was better at football last year than Drake May was. JSN's pretty special, but I think it's Myles or Matthew Stafford for me. I'd be shocked if anyone else won it. They shouldn't. How do you pick Drake May over Stafford? And how do you pick either of those guys over Myles? So, 3 of the 4 Texas high school products too, by the way.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool to see. Callie, you have a topic you want to get into?
Well, I had something from the Ask Lucha yesterday that we didn't get to touch on that specific show, but it was more of a kind of a fun question that I was just curious to get your thoughts on. I have my own personal takes on this topic. but I'm curious what you think. Someone asked if you could design an alternate uniform concept for the football team or bring back an old alternate, what would it be? And how would you feel about an old Sarge concept?
I would be afraid of an old Sarge concept because I feel like I'm watching my team play football. I don't want it to get too cartoony. There's something about that. I can't quite. I love the old Sarge concept. I like the merch that baseball put out a couple years ago. I love it. Aggie Golf's got an interesting version of that I think is really cool. I'm the one that says I think we're completely missing the boat. I don't understand who at A&M thinks we're too good for this crap. I don't know who at A&M would stop it and give me a damn reason why you should stop it. We should have old Sarge on the court for basketball. I think whoever's stopping that, it doesn't get it, and someone should raise their hand and not be scared of whoever's stopping it and say, hey, I think we're missing the boat here. Well, why do you think so? Because every school in America, 300 and something of them, have a costume mascot on the court in basketball. Everyone. Everyone. I was at the regional this year in OKC, or the first 2-round games. St. Mary's had a Gale, whatever the hell that is. Nebraska had Herbie. U of H had a Cougar. Mm-hmm. Who else is there? There was Vandy had the Commodore. Every school I saw had a mascot. It's basketball. It's what goes on. And I think Old Sarge would be a really cool one.
Yeah.
You want cartoon in that. The big jaw, you could have him in overalls. You could have him in, you don't want to put him in. You can put him in, just Old Sarge.
Yeah.
Like the big old head, make him have some muscles. It would be amazing.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, you could have Old Sarge, you could have Yell Leaders, you could have dance team, whatever. Add a damn mascot for basketball. With that said, uniform. It's funny because the players, when we interviewed the other day, I don't know if you were out there at that point in time, we were talking to the captains kind of in the Republic entryway before we went on tape. And I guess they had talked about uniforms are voted. I know Mike O'Reilly's favorite was the all maroon. And then the other players, the other captains were like disagreeing with them. Some of them liked all white. The one they seemed to like was the white tops with maroon pants and maroon helmet, which was interesting to me.
Yeah.
I like those. They're not my number one. My number one's probably the white road ones. Or I love just the classic maroon and white. But now if I went with a throwback, Callie, just they were showing Miles in that throwback.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite throwback helmets with that kind of look. And I forget what year that was, but it had that like old school Michigan Wolverine look. Those are my favorite throwback helmets. My favorite throwback uniforms were, I've loved the 98 throwback when we played Kentucky in 2018. I believe that was Jimbo's first year. I love that one. Loved it. I mean, that was just a beautiful little throwback. And then I really liked what we did this past season, those 1975s. I don't know that I have another era that I'm thinking of. What do you think of?
I think of the Johnny football, the 2012, 2013 era where they would wear the all
stripe.
blacks. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but those were like throwback ones.
Yeah.
Or not throwback, alternate ones.
The alternate uniform.
But they had this, if you like, when they had the two stripes on the
those were
sleeve,
cool.
some people might have liked that. What about you?
I'm just not a big fan on the alternates in general, and I know that's probably a hot take. But I go back and forth because I'm a fan of whatever pumps the team up and whatever gets them,
Yeah, you can
amped.
deal with whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's all depending on who you're playing. I think if you're playing a school with a big brand, you stick to your brand.
Yeah, I like that.
But if you're, playing a whoever, I think it's cool to have a little fun with it.
Now, LSU's a big brand.
Mhm.
Did you like when we went all black against them?
I did.
Yeah, to me, those were some of my that would rank in my definitely in my top 5 uniforms for A&M of all time.
Yeah,
were those.
Old Army Callie Garner over here.
I get it from my dad.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Porter. But I really love the black helmets with the white script Aggies. I didn't like them as much, the white, when we wore them at Notre Dame. But again, like you said, we won in those, so I love them.
Yeah. Whatever
I love
helps.
them. I mean, I'm all for one alternate a year with a lot of input from people that, I think you hit and miss with these things. A&M historically has hit more than they've missed since they've been with Adidas and worked with them on the throwbacks. There's been once or twice. I really didn't like the like this mirror type helmet, and they had a big state of Texas on the, and of course, and again, I probably don't like them because they got smoked at Mississippi State that day. But I hated those. No offense. I don't know. See, Matt Watson's a lifelong friend of mine. I don't know how much role he played in those. So, Watson, before you get sensitive, don't do the Aggie thing and get sensitive because I'm criticizing one of your 20 uniforms. I just complimented several of them, but those sucked.
Oh, man.
But they hit way more than they miss.
Yeah.
And that's a credit to the people here that work on it, and then I think Adidas too. But they hit way more than they miss, man. It's There was once one that never got there, and I was so glad it didn't, but there was really an idea for I forget what it was, but it was bad. It had some kind of denim.
I know what you're talking
it.
about. Some mock-ups that were at one point released, and they're like, "Oh, we could maybe do this." I think it was more of a joke.
It wasn't. No. The one I'm talking about was not one of these fake ones that people put out. No. It wasn't like, it wasn't like a fake where it's all but it was like something in the numbers had some certain denim and gold from the Aggie ring. It was weird.
It was a weird one. Well, we got to hit a break here. We'll be back and talk a lot more football topics with Mr. Billy Liucci. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers.
Welcome back into TexAgs Live. We are wrapping up a busy week on a Friday morning with Billy Liucci. Billy, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this LSU game. And I know it doesn't need to be said, the storylines that are surrounding the LSU program this year. But something unique is that the Aggies travel back to Death Valley for 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And they're facing the Tigers coming off of their game against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
They're going to Oxford with Lane Kiffin and the hoopla that is surrounding that. Just, I'm curious what you think about the timing that the Aggies get the Tigers and then traveling back to Death Valley.
I hate that they have to go back to Death Valley twice, and especially on the year that they finally broke through. Now, the good news is no one on this team is going to not think they can go in there and win now. So that's a plus in A&M's favor. The negative is Lane Kiffin should be having to come to Kyle Field in his first year at LSU and be greeted by 100,000 people here across the street that don't like him. But they're getting to avoid that. So that's a big advantage. Ole Miss, as far as the timing of the game, that one's interesting to me. I believe it favors A&M, win or lose for Ole Miss, because there's so much emotion that's going to go into playing in Oxford for Kiffin, for that team, because of what that fan base is going to bring in Oxford. And it's going to be crazy. And one of those, like, I mean, what an adrenaline dump for everyone in that program, coaches included. Some of those Ole Miss players, are like 3 of them that are at LSU now, win or lose. And if they lose, I think it takes a lot of the oomph out of that Death Valley crowd a week later. Now, there'll be some desperation there, but it really puts Lane Kiffin in his back against the wall in year one. This is assuming they beat Clemson. And I think they might even play Kentucky prior to that, but it's assuming they beat Clemson, right? Who they got?
They got Clemson start, yeah.
Louisiana Tech, Ole Miss, Texas A&M.
Okay, so if they're 0-1 in the SEC and they've just lost to Ole Miss, which is going to piss off a lot of LSU people, it's going to really, grate on Kiffin. They have to beat A&M. If they don't, and they're 0-2 in SEC play with a $40 million roster and this coach that talked as much as he has, and you've lost to the school that probably the 2 programs right now. I know they fancy Alabama, their rival, but those are the 2 programs that, like, there's the most vitriol and they want, those LSU fans want to beat A&M badly. They don't want Marcel Reed and the Aggies going in, Mike Elko going into Baton Rouge 2 years in a row and beating them. And they damn sure don't want to lose to Ole Miss with Ole Miss's old coach. So I think if they lose, man, it's a lot of pressure on Kiffin and LSU. So that is definitely advantage A&M. If they win, that place is going to be bonkers because they're going to be fully bought in on the Lane Kiffin experience, and they're going to think, man, we're hitting it running from day one. There is no transition. We are a national title contender. We've already beaten Clemson and Ole Miss, and we're rolling. But I still think they will have expended a lot of energy there a week prior. in Oxford. So I still like A&M, the setup for A&M on the road there. But I think it's going to be a tough one either way because they're either desperate or they're super confident. But that's going to be the tale for this team. Marcel Reed and the Aggies lost at Auburn 2 years ago. They lost at South Carolina. They let their season slide away from them on the road. I know they lost in Austin this year. I was arguing with a Texas fan yesterday about it. Like, you guys, like, you can chirp, but you're really like ignorant or unintelligent if you can't get away from the fact that A&M was really good on the road last year. And I know they weren't, I'm not saying they were like unstoppable, but you look at what they did the year before, where winning at Florida was a big, big deal because A&M hadn't won on the road in like, what was it, like?
A long time.
It was like they hadn't won an SEC road game in like, it had been a while. I forget what that streak was. Was it 10 road games or 12? It was something crazy. And Elko came in and broke that year one with Marcel in Gainesville. But they ended up, like I said, stubbing their toe. But you go back, look at last year. They won at Arkansas in a weird delayed type situation. They won ranked games at Missouri, at LSU, first time ever to win there, and they ran them out. And they won at Notre Dame in one of the biggest games of the college football season. So now can they take that next step and be like true road warriors? The progression tells you, and under this head coach and this quarterback, that it is certainly something that they are capable of doing. So you got LSU, you got Missouri, you got South Carolina, and you got Alabama. It's rough. Can they go 3-1 in those 4 games? I don't think there's a reason to sit here and assume they can't, to be honest. I mean, they're going to be as good as we sit here today. They should be as good or better than those 4 teams, and or as good and or better. Can you get 3? I mean, that depends on culture. That depends on mindset. And I think if you can look at last year as kind of a peek into the window of how they've progressed in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. We'll wrap it up here, come back with a quick segment on the other side. This is TexAgs Live presented by David Garner's Jewelers.
Good job today.
Howdy and welcome back to TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers. Back in the Rollo Insurance studio for one final segment with Billy Liucci. Billy, any final closing thoughts you want to get into?
You know what I would probably like to dive into is kind of everything going on right now with the CSC and the associated entities, and like the Learfield coming back with an official statement against CSC type stuff, and that involves A&M with play fly. Like there's a lot going on with that, and then obviously the bill that Ted Cruz is it Cantwell that they're trying to push through. I think it's essentially socialism. They're basically saying we're going to take from the A&Ms and Texases of the world and give it to the Baylors and TCUs and Techs for no other reason than we think they need it to survive. Like it's so wrong, and I don't think it'll pass through, but I just think the whole thing is just it's so misguided. And I think if anything, maybe we need to start splitting up college football into like high school where there's 6A, 5A, 4A. Like do something like that. Like just separate them, because why does Rutgers going to get the same share of a pie that Michigan does? Like who do the TV execs want on their airwaves? Who do people care about? It's Michigan, it's Ohio State, Penn State. It's not Rutgers or Maryland. And I mean, the whole thing makes zero sense to me. And it's just so 2026 of everything, just to say, hey, let's make this last by helping it. You're gonna devalue and diminish what is actually carrying the sport. It's not these lower, and they're all worried about themselves, like the Cody Campbells and Texas Tech and Purdue and like they're all worried about saving themselves. It's not about saving the sport. I think there's other ways to go about that other than to take from the ones that are, that they're carrying it on their back, and that could carry it on their back without these other ones if it goes that way.
Yeah, it's been crazy to watch. Well, Billy, we appreciate you.
All right, y'all killed it all week. I was listening, did good. Thanks. I mean, it's hard. People don't understand. You come in and host a 3-hour show, and you're not really used to doing it and what goes into it. Y'all got great guests, and it's, always proud of y'all.
Oh, thanks.
I mean,
Bill.
it doesn't compare to the Kansas City job.
Right? Yeah.
Is that a movie, or is it Kansas City, or is it St. Louis?
It was Kansas City. KC
No,
and
I'm
KC.
saying the Kansas City job. I feel like that's an actual thing, or the Kansas City Shuffle. It's in a movie. Like, we look it up, like a Bruce Willis movie, maybe. But anyway, doesn't compare to what y'all did there covering the volleyball natty. But it was close. And it's a good warm up for SEC Media Days.
Absolutely. It is for sure. Well, for Nick Savage behind the glass, Callie Gaither in the Social Center, and my host, Callie Garner, I am Naegeli. We appreciate y'all watching. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner's Jewelers.